Boxing King Media, powered by BYD. Johnny Nelson, back at your lovely pad again. Thank you for the invite. I had to come and speak to you in detail. I know we spoke on fight night and we got a quick chat in, but I just feel like so much has happened in the last 40 odd hours. We had to talk about it in detail. Have you recovered from the madness of Wembley Stadium filled up?
I think Riyadh season bought London, and when you see it out in Saudi, you see it in other places in the world, you don't realize how massive it is until you see it in a big place like London with all the beautiful architecture and the beautiful buildings, and then you realize how big it actually is. And to me, I was blown away. I've been to big fights all over the world, but I think the setup, the detail, it was second to none. I think it matched the gravitas of the fight. Wembley Stadium was again chocker, absolutely packed out. Everything before the fight, it was bang on. And then when it came to the fight itself, I think probably 4% of the crowd expected the result to be the way it was. But it's just, if I'm honest with you, I've watched the fight once since I've got back. And I've watched it once since I've got back because I'm sad for AJ. I'm sad and frustrated for AJ. I'm frustrated because if you listen to AJ, he talks about mindset, confidence, self-belief over and over and over and over again. When I watched him on Saturday night, I thought you need to start believing in what you're saying. And I say that because the second he got in the ring, within the first 30 seconds, Natasha Jones was stood next to me. I said, Tasha's getting knocked out tonight. If you look at how he started against Ngannou, and I know Ngannou was in his second fight, he stood solid, boom, solid jab, straight on it. When he started against Dubois, chin up in the air, hand down, getting whacked back with simple jabs like an amateur.
But before we come to the fight, what you just said there about, you said as he was walking to the ring, you said to Natasha Jones that he's going to get knocked out.
No. As he walked into the ring, and it was the first 30 seconds of the fight. That's when I said that. Not in walking to the ring. Everybody can get smart and say, this looks off, this looks off. One walked in the ring like Elvis, one walked in the ring like Mike Tyson.
Well, it's what Simon Jordan made this observation. He said that Dubois walked in like a gladiator and Anthony Joshua looked like he was going to the gallows, and some people may not know what the gallows are. That's where you go when you're getting executed.
I don't believe that. I think Anthony Joshua didn't. I think he thought he had Daniel Dubois' number. You hear him in the corner, this kid's shit. So that mentality was set in. The day before, he's saying, will you, to the crowd, I want you to pray for me.
What's all that about?
Yeah, to me, I'm thinking, why would you want people to pray for you? You pray for us, take care of us both. But that means, why do you want the prayers of everybody else? You know what you got to do. There were certain things that were being said, and I just thought, and it's easy to assess afterwards. But okay, forget about the fight. All week long I said, and people kept asking me out their questions about Anthony Joshua. And I know how people can take stuff out and clickbait it. And so all I just said was, there are no questions to be answered about Anthony Joshua because he's done it all. He's won, he's lost, he's been a hero, he's been a zero. People have criticised him. People have made him thick-skinned, and I've been one of them. And then he's fixed that. And he's back, he's ticked all the boxes. He can take a shot, he can box, he can punch. He's a former two-time heavyweight world champion. So there's no questions for him to ask. All the questions should be heaped on Daniel Dubois. This is what I'm saying. Because he's ticked all the boxes. So I expect him to get the job done because Daniel Dubois is where he was at 27 years old coming through. He's a young pup of a heavyweight. He's not walked in the shoes and been in the situation of Anthony Joshua. So as far as I was concerned, AJ deservedly is in a position of expectation as long as he does his job. As long as he does his job. Because we saw it with the Ruiz fight, underestimated him, got turned over, came back, outboxed him. We saw it when he boxed Usyk. He boxed Usyk. Again looked at him and thought this jumped up middleweight. All of a sudden, got beat, came back, boxing better the second time, but he just wasn't good enough. So as far as I'm concerned, he'd been through the mill. as a fighter. So there were no questions to be answered for AJ. They're all about Dubois. But then when I saw the first 30 seconds of the fight, I said to Natasha, he's getting knocked out. AJ's in the dressing room. He's not there. He's done it again. We've seen it before. He's done it again. AJ has proved he can box, has proved he can punch. We've seen him gloriously. We've seen him terribly. In his last fight against Ngannou, regardless of it, Ngannou's beaten Ngannou's second fight, how he dismantled him is how we should have dismantled. Is exactly how we should have approached this fight with Daniel Dubois, but he didn't. So the question is, did AJ lose or did he get beat? Now, it'd be fair enough for me to say he lost because he didn't do everything he could do, but I can't say that.
Are we taking credit?
Yeah, exactly. It'd be fair for me, but I didn't say that. What I said was he got beat. He got beat because it's like a gunslinger going to a gunfight. The fastest gunslinger in the West goes to a gunfight. He knows this is it, but he leaves his guns on the table at home. And when they stood face to face, and they draw, his guns aren't there because he's left them at home. And and you can't blame anybody because you're thinking, well, you knew you were going to a gunfight. Why have you left your guns at home? AJ did everything, ticked every single box. He knew what he'd done. He had all the experience that it took to beat Daniel Dubois, that Daniel Dubois had never had, which made him wiser than Daniel. So he knew what he had to do. For some reason or another, that stayed in the dressing room. It stayed in the gym. So then AJ turns up, this version of AJ. There's no consistency coming on. You get one fight, one good fight, two good fight, then this. You're back 5 fights. There's no excuse for it. Now, and I'm a fan of AJ's. Now, you understand what this guy's done for British boxing is mad. Unprecedented. What he's done for British boxing is mad. You look at how he's managed to have that crossover appeal, how he's managed to make it so big, 96,000 in Wembley. It's mad. You know, and it's great. And he's actually a great advert, good-looking, handsome fella that's been successful from the Olympics going through. He's done it all, in and out of the ring. So therefore, if he chooses to leave it at home today and goes into the ring without it, it's his own fault. So he didn't lose. He got beat. One went in to win. The other went in not to lose.
What do you make of the, kind of on that subject? Because there was a lot of people saying before that the previous opponents he's had that he's knocked out in the last 3-4 and no one's put it on him, and this time this guy was going to put it on him, etc. So it was going to be a different fight. Does it kind of prove any of that right, or was that?
I think Joe Gallagher was the one that said Daniel Dubois the first fighter that he's had go at him, bar 2015, I think it was when he boxed Dylan White, and agree. But every fight is going to go at him. But then what happens is, AJ breaks the heart with an amazing jab or, his strength or whatever. He breaks the heart. Daniel was a young, up-and-coming, fearless fighter in him. A young lion coming through. So as I said, one walked in the ring like Mike Tyson. The other walked in the ring like Elvis. He was putting on a show. When he walked in there, he wanted fire. He wanted to fight. And I said it tongue-in-cheek, and it was an endearing kind of joke, saying Daniel reminded me of Trigger out of Only Fools and Horses. He don't care, man. He's like, he don't care what's going on. He's no idea what's going on, but he just gets on with the job. Regardless of what you think of him, he got on with the job. Anthony Joshua, the only person to blame in all of this, and I know Ben's going to get the blame. And the thing is, with Ben is remember, Ben is reminding Anthony Joshua what he can do. So he's not, so Ben, he's picked up some good fighters and he's doing a good job with him because he's reminding them what they're capable of doing. He's not invented the wheel because the wheel's already been invented, but he's just trying to polish the shoes, make it shiny. So one or two will blame Ben. It's not Ben's fault. Ben will only, AJ knows more than Ben. So what happens is when you're in the gym and you're with your coach is the boss. The coach is the one that's telling you what to do. This. Comes to the fight. When you get in the ring, he takes the muzzle off you go. David Beckham wouldn't be Sir David Beckham without Sir Alex Ferguson. And Alex Ferguson was nowhere near as good a footballer as David Beckham. Naz wouldn't have been Naz without Brendan Ingle. Brendan was nowhere near as good a boxer as Naz. But you need someone to tweak you, get you in the right shape, and then wind you up. When you get in the ring, poof, off you go. So don't tell me when you're in the ring, what do I do now, boss? That's your job. It's not his job. He's done his job preparing you for this. And so fighters that shrink away from that responsibility are looking for a trap door, excusing their behavior, excusing their decision making. We talked with Tyson Fury, he told me I was willing. Instinctively, a fighter knows when he's in the ring what he's got to do. He knows when he's going to throw a left, throw a right, slip left, slip right. He knows what he's got to do. You don't blame people behind you. So this is nothing to do with Ben. Ben did his job preparing for this. This is an AJ problem.
What do you make of the video that went viral the other day where, because he AJ going into the corner at the end of round 4, and he obviously, like you said earlier, he said about Dubois that he's shit, and then he's given the instructions to do a double jab and throw an uppercut, and then in that moment, Shane McGuigan, who's working commentary for BBC Radio 5 Live, he hears that and he says that's a terrible instruction, because he said he'll get cut with the right hand.
Exactly. So therefore, this is AJ's decision to use Ben. So there's another side of AJ that Ben might be able to bring out.
And you said roll the dice as well. That was the other
roll the dice. We roll the dice. We've been before. We're made for these times. So it's now about space of motivation.
Was it the right time to roll the dice?
Oh, no. He didn't have to roll the dice. Of course, when you get in the ring, you're always rolling the dice. But what I'm saying is, so we can all critique the instructions given. Ben is Ben. And what if it works for the fighters in Ben, it works for the fighters in Ben. When you're in the fight, your job is to do something. Your trainer's job is to say, try this, try that, try this, try that. And if his instructions are wrong instinctively, I ain't doing that. I'll try this one instead. Because when it's great, the fighter and the trainer get all the praise. When it's bad, the trainer gets all the blame. So regardless if he's qualified to do the job, that's not the question, because AJ picked him. The book stops with AJ. The problem is there with AJ, because we've seen he has the ability. We've seen what he can do when he's at his highest. We've seen how bad he is at his lowest. At 34 years old and the experience he's had, there was no excuse because we know he can do it. So we know he can do it. What's the problem? Because nobody's telling him not to do it. It's there. AJ was in the dressing room or in the gym. It's there. So, and the problem is, and again, man won't like this because at the time, you've got to go through experiences to get wisdom. So it's not until you get, I can remember, I'm quite sure at some point in your life, 5-10 years ago, you'd have thought something happened and you thought, God, this is the worst time of my life. How am I ever going to get around this? And then you look back at it and you think, wow, I made such a big deal of that. AJ, not until he's 45, 50, he's going to look back at this AJ and think, shit. But the problem's going to be this. His body's going to be 45, 50. So when his body, his confidence really matches his ability, it's too late. No matter what he's telling you, we did that, and he's a great motivational speaker. The only person that don't believe in that is him.
What did you make of Ben Davison? He said something that was quite, it was good to hear, because he said when he came out to the press conference, we've seen it before in high-profile fights, when fighters lose, the teams don't tend to do the post-fight press conference. And I think Ben said that, we took the plaudits when we was winning, we've got to take the criticism when we lose.
What else could he say? What else could he say? No, I've watched the fight once since I got back because it hurts my heart. I hate waste. I hate wasted talent. I hate waste. It breaks me. And I think, AJ, man. And so I struggle. So when Ben's talking about, we did stand here, words are cheap. AJ and Eddie said, I know you're thinking about me retiring in X, Y, Z. I'm not saying AJ should retire. But if I was AJ, I'd retire. Because nothing is going to change. When have we had a run of consistent performances? A run of consistent performances getting better and better. We haven't. So again, up, down, up, down, up, down. 2 consistent good performances, then boom. You've gone back 5 fights. What's that? It's mindset. It's self-belief and mindset. You see it getting in there, like, what are you doing, Dredd? Come on. That's mindset. So for Ben's experience of what he's got, or inexperience of what he's got, suits Ben. And in 5-10 years' time, Ben might be a great trainer. And he's going to learn his lessons and learn his mistakes on everybody else's back. So regardless of what you say about Ben, this isn't a Ben problem. The book has got to stop and start with AJ. Everybody's blaming everybody else. It's AJ.
Well, Don Charles did an interview and he talked about the side of film studying and he basically had a bit of a dig and said, you need to teach your guy to defend a jab first, and he said film studies were like overrated.
Listen, again, people are all coming out with new and crazy ways to say, I'm going to train you to do differently. And this is, it's black and white. Train a man how to fight. Train a man how to defend himself. Boxing is to hit and not be hit. That's it. Don't get three smart, because you end up outsmarting yourself. Saturday night, you show that's the system, whatever it is, didn't work because human error is the problem. You can tell me a million things. If it doesn't sit there, it doesn't matter what you tell me, it hasn't worked. So you've got to be repetitive. You've got to be consistent. You've got to do it with conviction. You've got to do it with self-belief. Yeah, I can watch a million videos. You can give me a load of mantras. If I can't do it, don't matter what you've said or done. It's just a new gimmick.
What about the fact that what if Daniel Dubois really is that guy that's a monster puncher and he's really good? Because I was looking at his record, he lost to Joyce, but Joe never engaged with him, kept him on the back foot and just kind of jabbed him. Obviously, his other loss was against Usyk. He gave Usyk a bit of a difficult fight, but other than that, he's blown every single man away. Mm-hmm. So are we kind of forgetting that this guy is probably a serious puncher, a serious fighter?
Not at all, not at all. Daniel Dubois, I think he's got the...
No matter what age he does,
Daniel Dubois got the biggest knockout ratio in most of the heavyweights that are currently boxing out there. So Daniel Dubois, again, you're asking me about AJ. I'm not dismissing what Daniel Dubois did. I'm just explaining about the AJ situation. Daniel Dubois did what Daniel had to do. He came in there, stepped forward, put the pressure on, no matter what he was going to do all the way through. And he did exactly that. Strong, effective, offensively, on the front foot, put the pressure on, was not intimidated before, during, and after the fight. That's what he had to do. His style suits a young man. And what he did was he made the most of it. He came in there to win. So every box that had to be ticked, he did it. AJ gifted it him.
I know, but you say when you say gift him, it could not be that Daniel Dubois is that guy. He's just is he like a top 5 heavyweight from this era?
Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen Anthony Joshua box better than that?
I'd say definitely the second Ruiz fight.
All right, so you've seen him box better than that. You've seen him box more devastating than that, literally in his last fight. So Anthony Joshua decided to leave his guns on the table.
Could that be because of Daniel's power and his heavy jab?
You saw when he first came out. I tell you what, watch both fights. Watch that first round, and then watch the first round against Ngannou. So was that because Ngannou, he probably knew Ngannou had little experience, so I can do this, which showed he can do it? Or was it because his mind was like probably focused on it, say, right, this is what I've got to do. If his mind's not in it, his body's not in it. That start, I'm like, you are too big and it's the wrong tactics for this fight. So don't be trying out new things. I'm going to box, I'm going to X, Y, Z. Get in there and get rid of him. And that's the job done. And so it's not dismissing Daniel Dubois. It's critiquing AJ leaving his guns on the table.
Let's say there is a rematch and AJ comes with all his guns. He's the best AJ ever, the one that knocked out Ngannou, what did against Wallin, and Dubois turns up like he did against the...
AJ beats him. So? Even all week I said AJ. I've got no question for AJ. Now the problem's this. AJ simply reminded me and most of the people that were watching of the vulnerabilities. So really, when AJ, what's exciting about AJ is the fact that you don't know which AJ is going to turn up. That's what's exciting about it. From like, oh shit, yes. But now it's like people walked out there disappointed because it was a great fight. It was a great fight. And it was exciting. It had everything about it. But the fact that AJ had gone back 3 or 4 fights, because you can't tell me that was a vintage performance. You can't tell me if that was one of his best performances and Daniel did that, then you think, you know what? There ain't no answer to that. This was AJ leaving his tools at home. And and the thing is, it doesn't mean Daniel wasn't good enough because Daniel was smart enough to bring all these tools.
What I liked about Saturday night was, I don't know if you noticed it, when AJ was on the floor, Dubois refused to celebrate. His trainers jumped on him. He told him to calm down. He told Don Charles to calm down. He told Kieran Farrell to calm down. He didn't celebrate and he waited till AJ got up and he kept giving him his respect, which kind of shows, people see him as this kind of shy character, doesn't say a lot, but he shows he's human after all.
He's a nice, simple guy. So the things that excite us and get our blood boiling. He's a nice, simple guy that just wants to fight. I don't think he cares about the money. I don't think, and luckily he's got his family, his people around him to take care of the business side of it. There's many fighters that have been like that in the past, and I'm trying to think of one fighter. A guy called Sugar Ray Leonard. He was the youngest world champion. I think is Wilfred Benitez. Became world champion at 17 years old, and he was like Daniel Dubois. He just wanted to fight. Just a kind heart, and that's Daniel. Even when they had the face off, and Daniel said, "Let's do it now." It wasn't with any menace. He's like saying it what it is. It's clear he don't think like the rest of us. But that shouldn't make him a better fighter than anybody else. It's a case of how you deal with him.
Dave Caldwell, who I spoke to earlier, gave me a good analogy. He said he's like the boy at school who's been bullied all his life, and the one day he's woken up, I thought, fuck you, lot, you're not bullying me anymore. So he basically sees nothing, and if anyone puts it on him, he's ready for that smoke. That face-off was a bit like that.
It's a good shout. It's a good shout. I just think Daniel Dubois does what he's had to go through the mill, like AJ has. He's been slagged off. He's been criticised. He's got no heart. I said Daniel can't think in the ring. That's what I said. I say you don't have the ability to think in the ring. He has the ability to remember, but not think. And all you have to do is keep pistoling those shots out, and that's exactly what he did. AJ had to think in the ring, and still, it's like he'd forgotten how to think.
That's a question for you, Johnny. Hypothetically speaking, it's highly doubtful that they'll rematch based on the way the ending went.
Yeah.
If you're Anthony Joshua, would you go down the rematch for Dubois, or would you wait out to see what happens for Fury Usyk?
Well,
if he is going to fight again.
I know after the fight in the press conference, both AJ and Eddie spoke about him fighting again, and he said we fight on, and I also believe, because AJ's human, his heart will be absolutely broken and shattered to get knocked out in such a devastating fashion. I found it sad seeing him in that state. I can only speak from how I'd look at it, and if I was Anthony Joshua, I'd walk away, because the AJ that you need to turn up and depend on, if he didn't do it then, and you don't know when he's going to do it, why are you going to depend on him? You've got turned over by Danny Dubois. And so Danny Dubois puts you even further down the pecking order. Yes, you know what? It's only, if not for AJ, Wembley wouldn't have had 96,000 people in. Danny Dubois will box somebody else next, and he'll be at the O2 with 20,000 people. Only AJ can do that. AJ he look at people ringside because they love AJ. He's a fan magnet. All walks of life, people want to be there. The opportunity was there for him to be professional, and all the way through, he was professional all the way through. I just think, unfortunately, the problem is in AJ's head. And if it's in AJ's head, that confidence and ability are not going to match until he's about 45 years old. And he can't depend on it. And you know what? He might have a great fight in the next fight, and then we'll do it again. How many times have we seen that? And it's a case of, you can't keep doing that, man. You can't keep getting hit like that, getting knocked out like that. You can't do that. And if you can't depend on bringing everything with you when you need it the most, because your mind has gone somewhere else, how do you know that's not going to come back again? I see what AJ says. I see how he motivates people, and I get it. But you know what? The only person that needs convincing in this situation is him. I see through him. And I think, you don't believe that, man. Come on. What are you doing? And so, and if he's honest with him, and if people close to him are honest with him, then agree with me. And people that don't know what they're talking about, they say, Johnny, you're talking shit. I know what I'm talking about, and so do they.